What up, YouTube? How y'all doing? Overlord, again, yeah, like y'all don't know it's me. Anyway, I want to thank y'all for all the support I've been getting, all the subscriptions, and just all the positive feedback in general. It's been a blessing. I like the way y'all have accepted me, and I just want you to know I take none of this for granted. Um, got a lot of big things I'm trying to accomplish in the new year. I actually picked this video to cover a topic, but before I go there, I'm going to talk about some of the things I wish to accomplish in 2013. My website should be up in 2013. I'm running, fully functional. I'm hoping in somewhere between March and April where it's fully functional. It may be up before then where you'll have some areas that you can go to and page through, but I want to have it fully operational no later than April. So on the website, I'll be selling beats. I'll be selling sound kits. I do the producer packs. I may actually throw that as a subscription thing for those who want to indulge in producer packs. I'll be selling used gear like MPCs and equipment like that, things that I'll personally hook up and how can I put it, customize. What else? Oh, I'll be selling t-shirts. I got some t-shirts, some rough draft t-shirts made. I'll be selling t-shirts and hats and things of that nature with my logo on it. I had this designed for me. Pretty cool. So this is one of them. So t-shirts. The logo will be bigger on the ones I have for sale. But I just wanted to have an idea what it looked like on an actual t-shirt. And this is another logo. And this stuff will be like on hats and t-shirts. And as you see on this one, actually it stands for Overlord Beats. The O is like the record, then you got the B inside the record. This is actually blue if you can't see it. I'll be able to do this in different colors where you can have the B in red or green or whatever if you wanted to match it, a particular thing. Same thing goes for this logo. This one is black, but this dark color right here could be almost any color. So it's like a lowercase b with the record forming the O, Overlord Beats. Also, I'll be doing some other hip hop style t-shirts that's just not promoting Overlord Beats, just my name, just something cool as a producer that you would probably want to wear. So I got a lot of things. I'm getting my entrepreneur on in 2013. Also, when you go to my webpage, I'll even have a sample consulting service where I'll help people who want samples and need samples or looking for a particular style of sample. I'll be your guy, and we'll work out different things. And as I say, all consultants get paid, right? So let's touch on samples. No disrespect, and please don't be offended. It just is what it is. I get a lot of people asking me about, yo, what's that sample? Please tell, what's the name of that sample? What's the title of that sample? This, that, the other. Granted, I'm old school. Although sometimes I'll share sample titles, sometimes I won't. It's no disrespect. It's not that I'm being discourteous. It's more so that, digging is an art form, and sometimes the way I came up, you never told what a sample was. You went out, you found it. Now, back then it was a lot more difficult because you didn't have the internet at your fingertips. And even now it can be difficult because every record you won't find on the internet. So there'll be some rare things, and some of my stuff I'm willing to share, some things I'm not willing to share. So not that it's gold, but it's more so a culture thing and how I came up in the culture. So, respect due. Some samples I will share, and if it's one of those things I'll share, I'll share. If it's something I'm not willing to share, I'll politely tell you I'm not sharing that sample. I may even give you clues on how to find it on your own. I don't know, I'm a strong believer in teach a man to fish, but at the same time, I'm a businessman too. So as a consultant, if you need certain things, you need certain records, you're working on a certain project, and you use my consultant services, at that point in time, I will distribute samples. And then of course, when you get the sample, you must know the name just in case you need to get clearances. So if it's not a mixtape or something that you're not putting out for for a non-profit, if it's something you're putting out for profit, then you'll need that sample name and the title and the artist information. So let's talk about digging. A lot of people ask me how you e-dig. how you find your samples, and how you find smooth grooves and things of that nature. Well, bottom line, I was into records ever since as I can remember. When I was a little boy, I was always around music, always around vinyl, always around 45s, always had some type of record player. So this just is what it is. So digging and looking for records, that's just always been my love. And also, I was a DJ, and the records that you see is not half of what I have or had, because I had a ton of records back home in Baltimore at my boy Wayne's house that I just said, man, go ahead, use them or keep them. So vinyl, I have quite a bit of it, and I've been around quite a bit of it. So, and when you dig and you listen to music all the time, you kind of get an ear for certain things, and you kind of learn certain artists and things of that nature. And I'm one of those rare diggers that won't name or can't always name everything that I use, because I just go by what I listen to. Sometimes certain things, certain artists and certain producers, I do study, and certain things I'll just listen to here and make it, and then I won't remember. I probably know that it was the Four Tops, but I might not remember the name of the song. Shame on me, maybe. But that's, I don't know. That's just how my brain works. I focus on so many other things that sometimes that stuff is not important unless I know I'm gonna use it for a particular project or something. And also maybe it's just the laziness of knowing that I got the record, and if I need to find it, I can always go back to it and find it eventually in some cases. But to help you guys out there who are trying to dig or trying to do some e-digging, as far as the internet digging, or looking for stuff on YouTube or things of that nature, I'll give you some advice and some things that you could do that might help you out. First of all, before I go there, I want to explain something. You got like classic producers like Marley Marl, DJ Premier, Pete Rock, Jay Dilla, Q-Tip, RZA, and I can go on and on and on. But the cool thing about these producers, all these producers, is they have a sound. And even though they sample, they still have a sound. Basically because it's an ear. You gotta have an ear for music, and your ear will resonate with I guess your personality and your creativity, so that determines the type of samples you pick and how you flip those samples. That's why you can know something was produced by Premier, not only just because of the drums, but even from how the sample is chopped or how the sample is flipped, or sometimes even if it's just a loop, it's something that oh, that sounds like something Premier would use. And it's been many times I'll listen to records, I'm like, wow, that sounds like something Large Pro would use, or this sounds like a Premier sample. This sounds like, it just is what it is, because it resonates within you. And as a producer, you'll get your own sound, and how you listen to music and how you flip these samples will be unique, all on how you are as a producer and based on your ear. So, that being said, here's some techniques to finding some good samples and things to be creative, ways to be creative with this digging process. First of all, there's no right or wrong way to dig. I mean, a lot of people don't have access to record stores, so I'm not one of them purists like, oh, you shouldn't e-dig, you should only do from vinyl. I say you by any means necessary. I'm more like a Malcolm X. You get it in how you need to get it in, by any means necessary. Just be creative. That's it, no rules. Alright, so first thing you want to do is, if you hear something that you like and you find out the artist and the name of the song, you may want to look at other songs and other albums by that artist, because if you like that music, you may like more of that stuff. Alright, so if you like a particular artist, check out their library, check out their, check out their check out their library, check out their work, all the things that they've done. Alright, then secondly, if it's something unique about that particular song that stood out for you, now you need to check the producer. Who produced the record? So, you may want to check out other things that producer has produced, other artists that this producer has produced. For example, Quincy Jones. He's produced quite a few artists, from Michael Jackson to DeBarge to Barry White, a lot of different people. So, you may want to do that. Check out the producer and find out some of his other works and other things that he did, because it's a good chance that you like his style. Alright? Also, if something stands out in the record, like a bass line, the string section, the drums, or the horns, or these type of things, you want to do some research. You want to look at who was the bass player on that album, who was the drummer, who orchestrated the string section. then you find those names, and then you look for those names as well. See what other stuff, that other albums that guy played bass on, or other albums that guy played saxophone on, or other albums that the string quartet or whoever it was on. You want to look for those elements as well. So those are things you can do. The artist, the producer, the musicians. Now you can also check out the label, because especially if you're digging for older stuff, you're looking for stuff like if you're getting samples from the 60s and the 70s, especially the 60s and the 70s. A lot of times when these albums put out records, a lot of those songs, they had a lot of groups that did a lot of the same style of music. Like for instance, Motown. Everybody say that Motown sound. It was all soul, hip hop, R&B, soul, rhythm, blues. It was what it was. So you had Smokey Robinson, you had the Temptations, you had the Supremes, you had Eddie Kendricks, David Ruffin. These are just examples. So you had all these different artists, but the music was all soulful and similar. Marvin Gaye. So the label, a lot of those older labels had a lot of similar artists on their roster that you may like that type of music. So look at the labels like Motown, Stax, Blue Note, Epic, all these type. Columbia. I'm getting to some of the bigger ones that came up along later, but look at some of the earlier or Buddha, things like that. Look for these particular and T-Neck. Look for these particular labels, and you may find other music that's similar, but just done by different artists. All right, so that's another thing that you can do just by looking at the label, and also the date. I mean, you can tell the 80s music. I don't care if it was rock, if it was rock, whether it was rap, whether it was R&B, whether it was pop. It all has a certain sound. It's that 80s sound has a certain sound. You could tell just by the instruments. Same thing with 70s music, 60s music, and so on and so forth. So you may want to look at dates and things of that nature. So those are very key things that you can do to dig. And with the internet and search engines today, like Bing and Google and all these things, there's a good chance that you can find the artist and find some of these other things that you're looking for. And there's ways that you can get that music, or maybe download it, or get it from YouTube. The thing about YouTube though is sometimes the quality is not the best. But because the quality is not the best, it may add a uniqueness to your production. Almost like having a grimy record. I don't know. But I don't think it's one right way or a wrong way. Just do whatever sounds good to you. Alright, so those are a lot of different techniques that you use to dig. I even look at album covers. Sometimes I'll look at an album cover, it just look unique enough, and I'll just buy the record on that alone. Now if you do go out physically digging, all these techniques I told you still applies for the physical digger as well. And then when you go to the record shop, it's all a hunt. Don't be afraid to ask the owners and the people there, because they're around records every day. So ask them about things. And if you become a regular in a particular record spot, you should get familiar with the owner, and they should know who you are. So when there's certain things that you're looking for, they'll be your bird dog. They'll look out for things for you, and they get things that they know they know you like. Excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself. If they find things they know you like, they'll either call you, or when you come in, they say, hey, I got some new stuff that you may be looking for. So always talk to the guys that own the record shops. And a lot of times they'll be able to help you with certain elements or certain things that you're looking for in records. A lot of the professional producers do this. They'll go in there and say, you know what, I'm really looking for something with some real nice drums, or I'm looking for something with a crazy synth sound. I need something that has a lot of pianos without drums, and they can tell you a lot of records that have these type of elements and these unique things, and based on the things that you buy, they'll be able to know how to help you out if they're true diehard record shop owners. So these are all things that you can do to improve your record library, your sample library, and your music library that you use when it comes to creating. So again, there's no right, no wrong way. It's just be creative, think outside the box, and most of these record spots that you go to, especially if it's a true digging type record spot, a lot of them are going to have a listening station. That means you can take albums that you want, because most of them going to be pre-owned records. You will go to some spots where they have repress, where they'll take an old record, repress it, put it in and press it up new, and it's a sealed item. but most places you go to dig, a lot of the records are unsealed, so you can actually go to that listening station and listen to the albums. All right, now every place you go won't have that, but one tool you should always have as a digger, especially if you're an adamant vinyl digger, you should have a portable turntable. Vestex make one, Newmark makes the PTO one, so you may want to get something like that. Now, if you're a software producer and you're really not into vinyl, or I suggest that if you have access to vinyl, you should try sampling off of vinyl. It's a unique sound. Get you a Ion, a Vestex, or Gemini, or Newmark. All these companies have turntables that are USB, so you can actually take the record and record it into your computer, and you can do your sampling or your chopping or things like, however you want to get it in. You can do it that way, or you can archive the record and now you have it backed up on your computer. So that's something else that you can do. But I highly recommend getting vinyl, and you can always find a cheap turntable. The PTO one, those Vestex, all those turntables I told you are very inexpensive. Or you can go to your neighborhood pawn shop, and guess what? You can find a turntable there for pretty relatively cheap. Now, if it's not a lot of record spots in the area where you live, which can happen, which is, it can be that way. But I've yet to go to any town, small town or area where they don't have some type of thrift store, thrift shop, or some type of saving store where you can buy secondhand things. And a lot of these stores will have a section where they have books and albums. So go through, check out the albums. And sometimes it'll be music that you don't care for. It could be a string quartet. It could be a classical. It could be something. But there's something on every record. So go to these thrift stores and go to the flea markets and go to yard sales and get records the best way you can, and 45s, and sometimes hit the Craigslist and things like that. Find people trying to get rid of albums. Sometimes you got people that have stuff they just need to get rid of. Somebody may have passed away and they left a record collection, and sometimes they don't want to sell them, they just want to get rid of them. Back home I got a lot of albums that way from a store that they say, look, we don't buy records and we don't take in records, but they would take people's names, and the actual store actually took my name. So when people came in there looking for somebody who wanted to buy their albums or somebody who wanted to take their albums off their hands, they would give them my number. The people would give me a call, and me and my buddy Reggie, or Millimeter, the guy y'all saw in the video, we would go meet those people and we'd get their albums. Pretty simple. Some people want ridiculous prices. Some people just give me a fair price. I just want them out my house. It's just taking up too much space. Great way to get albums. So, it's like a treasure hunt. And so think outside the box by any means necessary. Like I said, find ways to get yourself some vinyl. And the one thing I really, really like about vinyl is you're not going to find every record on the internet. You're not. Because some things were rare releases. Some things they had a limited pressing on. And also, a lot of, depending on where you live, if it's a town where you got bands that play and they trying to make it, a lot of times what those bands do is they press copies. So when they go to shows, they want to give out albums. And back in the day, that's what they did. They had albums pressed out and they gave out albums. They didn't give out cassette tapes and CDs. They gave out albums. So sometimes you can have something from a local band from a particular town that you will never ever find on iTunes or never ever find on the internet. So that's the unique thing about vinyl. So if you really are really true hip hop head, you want to try to get it in, and you like sampling, you may want to get into some vinyl. Even if you don't have a huge collection, you may want to have some vinyl in your collection, because you can find some very, very unique things there. Also, is there anything else? Yeah, I said about e-digging. I talked about vinyl. Another thing you can do is you'll find some old stuff on CDs, and sometimes you got a lot of companies that will re-release older music on CDs. Hey, if it's on CD, get it. Even cassettes. Cool thing about getting old cassettes, you can go to a thrift shop. You can probably buy yourself an old cassette deck for maybe $2, $3, $5. Definitely under 10. And you can go certain places where you can find old cassettes of albums. And the thing about that is that cassette, just like an album, has a warm sound because how it was recorded. So, and tapes get old and they get a little distorted sound and a warm sound. So sometimes they have a uniqueness, to them as well when you sample from them. So it's a lot of different ways to get sampled material. I hope this helped you out. These are all things that I do to find music, and these are all techniques that I use to get it in. So get music by any means necessary. You know, I mean, you can get it off of YouTube. You can get it from a website. You can download it from the internet. You can buy vinyl, buy CDs, buy cassettes. I mean, just buy good music. You know, and then listen to it. And a lot of times, a good way to find good stuff. Cause sometimes you get albums, you get excited, you listen to them, you skip through them, like, this album don't have nothing. I got all these records in here, and I've been through them all. But I've had albums that I've had for years, and I'll listen to an album today, and be like, it's nothing on here. And then next week, I'll pull out that same album and listen to it, and be like, wow, how did I miss that? I didn't miss it. It's just that I was in a different frame of mind. So that's what's cool. Whatever inspires you, and just a different day can make you think a different way and hear something a different way, and then you sample it. So that's a cool thing. So get your albums, get your sounds, and listen to them often. And sometimes when you're doing things around the house, or you just hanging out chilling, throw it on and just listen to it. Because while you're doing whatever chores or whatever, you're listening to these records, you may actually hear something that you pick up on and be like, oh, then bam, the idea is there. You're ready to make a beat. That's also a good way to come out of producer slump. So, all right, I hope that was helpful. I will have a consulting service, like I said. If you need certain samples, just a certain style or certain sound you're looking for, I'd be more than happy to help you. I got a large collection that I'm willing to share. Some of it I'm not willing to share, so it is what it is. But if you're looking for particular things, I can find certain samples for you. And for a small fee, I'll hook you up. And I'll even send a sample your way. If it's MP3 is good, fine. If you need the vinyl version of it, then we can talk, because sometimes I can find those vinyl again, and sometimes I'll have multiple vinyls. That's another thing I will be doing on my website. I may actually be selling vinyl. Anything that I got crazy multiples of, I will have up for sale. Anything that I think is popular when I go there, or good stuff, and I have like 2 copies. I like to keep 2. If I got 2 copies of an album, I'm going to keep 2, at least 2 copies, if it's an album that I have 2 copies of. But if I get into the 3, 4, 5 of them, then I'm going to start selling them. Also, if I see something out, something similar that I know is nice, that I know some good stuff on, that's something that I know people will want to flip, I'll have those albums, and I'll have albums for sale on my website too. So it's going to be interesting. I'm very excited about the new year. But again, I want to thank y'all for your support. I want to thank all my subscribers, everybody who come on and listen to me run my mouth, and those who come on and listen to my beats, even though I'm playing around and stuff. I really, really appreciate you. Oh, I want to get one last thing off my chest. It's not a bad thing, but I get a lot of people talking about, oh man, the drums are dry, the drums are whack, or the drums are... I know. Now, those who get producers packs from me, those who get thumb drives from me, y'all know that I got tons of drums, and I got some good ones. So let me explain what's going on when you listen to a lot of my beats, especially one, it's on a live camera, so it's not, a lot of my beats aren't played in MP3 format, and I don't upload it in a format where you can hear the true quality of it. 2, a lot of my older beats and stuff that I let you listen to, I'm not focused on the drums. The way I produce, a lot of times I'm a sampling producer, so I chop up melodies, and I chop up things, and I come up with chopped up arrangements. And if you chop up samples, sometimes it's not sometimes just how you hit the pad. I mean, the pads that you hit. Sometimes it's how you hit those pads, the rhythm, the time, and all that stuff. And sometimes when you find a sample, a chop, sometimes just hitting it a certain way, you find that perfect rhythm, that perfect alignment of sound. You need to get that idea out. You need to get it in, because you can go back to it the next day and forget how you hit it, and the rhythm in which you hit those drums. Hit those pads, and the idea is gone. So ideas rush through my brain real quick. And a lot of times samples, I'll listen to records. So that's why I use the remix. Everybody said, why you use the remix? Why you sample to that first? Because that's like my palette. I'll go through a record, I hear something, ooh, I like that. I'll throw it on a pad. And I hear something else I like that, I'll throw it on a pad. I hear something else I like, I'll throw it on a pad. Next thing you know, all 16 pads are full of samples. And now I'm taking these samples and I'm chopping them up. I'm like, wow, this is cool. And then I get a melody. Now I'm like, now I want to go to the next one. And I chop that up. So what I have go-to drums. I have drums that I use just to get the idea out, just so I can have something underneath the sample, so I can have an idea how I want my drum pattern to go and how I want it to flow with the sample. Now, If it's something I'm using for a project, or something that I decide, yo, I want to use this, or I know somebody's gonna rap over it, or I know I'm gonna put it on a beat tape, or I know I'm gonna do something with it, or like put it up on my website when that comes out, I'm gonna always go back, listen to the drums, and tweak everything and make sure everything is right at that point in time. But for the sake of speed and the sake of being productive, I don't focus on the drums that hard because it's more about the samples. Because I got so many drums, I can always go back, tweak my drums, layer my drums, and get the drums smacking the way I need them to smack. I just need the rhythm and the composition. The drums, the backbone, yes, but a lot of times the way I produce, I get my melody and my chops out first, and then I'll lay the drums down. Or sometimes I'll lay down just a basic drum beat so I can organize my chops the way I want to. I can always go back and fix my drums. So that's why a lot of my older stuff you hear, the drums sound the way they do, and I'm comfortable with not going back messing with it unless I'm gonna use it for a project or throw the beat up for sale or something. So I highly recommend, if your brain, if you operate like I do and you got ideas, you should have a set of go-to drums. But you can always go back, retweak those drums, EQ them, tune them, or layer them, and do the necessary things you need to get it sounding exactly the way you want. Basically, when I share things with y'all, I'm just sharing things I've created in the past, things I'm doing, or ideas. Very seldom do you hear a finished product. So if you've been coming to my site and you've been listening to it, and watching me, you know that very rarely do you see me put up complete finished products, unless it's something for like a producer's contest or something like that. But in the future, you'll start hearing finished product, and when my website come up, that's what my website is for: finished beats and beats that I did where I'm happy with the production and the drums. But I love and I appreciate all the support. I appreciate all the advice, because believe it or not, a lot of times y'all say certain things and y'all's like, well, the drums ain't this, maybe you should do this, and maybe you should do that. Even though I know I didn't focus on the drums and I didn't care at that particular time, some of the input that y'all give me is very helpful. It actually helps me out when it comes to certain things and gives me ideas with my production. So, hey, by all means, I'm not offended at all. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the comments, because it's all relevant. So, again, thanks for supporting me. I appreciate y'all. I will never ever take y'all for granted. I truly appreciate my subscribers and all those who come to my channel to watch my videos. Thank you. Peace. One love.